Have you ever, like, I don't know, stumbled across something and it just pulls you in?
Oh, totally.
Like, it makes you want to learn more, but it also seems kind of huge, a little mysterious.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
That's how I felt the first time I went to a yoga class.
No, really?
Yeah, the instructor kept mentioning this word, Dharma.
Right?
And I was so intrigued, but I had no idea what it meant.
It can be like that, yeah.
Yeah, like a doorway to a whole other way of seeing things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're diving into today with Hinduism.
I think you're right. It's like we've got this whole rich history and philosophy to uncover.
Exactly. And luckily, you've provided some awesome material for us to explore.
Well, I'm excited to dig into it. And maybe right off the bat, we should address this whole idea of calling Hinduism a religion.
Okay, yeah, what's up with that?
It's not that it's wrong, but it's kind of like using a really small box to hold something massive.
I see, so it's more than that.
Way more. It's more like, think of it as a tapestry, maybe,
Okay.
with all these different threads of philosophy, practices, rituals, beliefs. It's all woven together.
It's not like one single thing you can point to.
Exactly. It's constantly evolving, always changing, and it's been doing that for like millennia.
Okay, so where do we even begin? I mean, we're talking about something ancient here.
Okay, so picture this. The Indus Valley civilization.
Oh, wow. Okay, way back.
Way back, like over 5,000 years ago. We're talking about evidence of spiritual practices even then.
Wow, that's incredible.
But the real, like, foundation, the heart of what we know as Hinduism comes a bit later with the Vedas.
The Vedas. Okay,
Yeah.
now those are ancient scriptures, right?
Exactly. Like, think ancient hymns, spiritual poems passed down for generations, all in Sanskrit.
Wow. And they talk about, like, the cosmos, the gods, rituals, all that.
Exactly. They're like the bedrock of so much of Hindu thought.
Okay, so that's super old school. But how did things change from those early days?
So then come the Upanishads.
Okay.
Still sacred texts, but they take a turn inward.
What do you mean?
They're less about outward rituals and way more about like inner exploration.
Interesting.
This is where we get the concepts of Brahman and Atman.
Brahman, Atman. Those sound familiar, but remind me.
So Brahman is like the ultimate reality, the universe's source code.
Where?
And Atman is your soul, your deepest self.
Got it. But how are they connected?
The Upanishads say they're one and the same.
Wait, so you're saying that deep down, we're all part of this ultimate reality?
That's the idea, and it's a huge part of what makes Hinduism so enduring. It's about realizing you're part of something much, much bigger than yourself.
That's a powerful concept. And I bet it leads us right into other big ideas like karma and reincarnation, right?
You got it. These are the heavy hitters, but they're often misunderstood, especially karma.
Yeah, it's not just like some cosmic scorecard, is it?
No, not at all. It's not about punishment or reward.
So how do you explain it?
Think of it like this. Every action, every thought, even every intention, they all create these ripples.
Ripples.
Yeah, like throwing a stone into a pond.
Yeah.
And those ripples, they shape your journey.
Okay, I'm starting to see.
Not just in this life, but according to Hinduism, in many lives to come.
So it's less about being good or bad, and more about understanding our actions have these lasting consequences.
Exactly. And that takes us to reincarnation, or samsara, as it's known in Hinduism. It's this cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
And it's all driven by this idea of karma.
Yeah, but it's not meant to be scary or like you're trapped on this endless Ferris wheel.
So there's a point to it.
Absolutely. The goal is moksha, liberation from that cycle of samsara.
Okay, so how do we reach moksha?
It's about realizing your true nature, that connection to Brahman we talked about. It's like this state of complete liberation, freedom from suffering.
Wow. That's a pretty incredible goal.
It is, and it's where the idea of Dharma comes in.
Dharma, right. People use that word a lot, but it's also translated as duty, right?
Yeah, but it's way more nuanced than that.
So it's not just following a set of rules.
Not quite. It's more like discovering your unique role, your purpose.
So everyone has their own dharma.
Exactly. And here's the cool part. It's not static. It changes and evolves throughout your life.
Really? So it's not like you're just stuck with one path forever.
Nope. It's dynamic, just like life itself.
Okay, so far so good.
Yeah.
But I have to ask about something that I think a lot of people find fascinating and maybe a bit confusing about Hinduism.
What? That?
The deities.
Ah, yes. The pantheon of Hindu gods and goddesses.
It can seem a bit overwhelming at first, to be honest.
I totally get that. You see all these different gods, and it's natural to wonder what it all means.
So for someone who's new to Hinduism, how do we even begin to understand that?
Or it's crucial to understand this. Many Hindus don't see these gods as separate entities, but as different expressions of that one ultimate reality, Brahman.
So, not polytheism in the traditional sense.
Not exactly. It's more nuanced than that. Think of it like this. Imagine a prism.
I like where this is going.
White light goes in, right?
Yeah.
And what comes out? A whole spectrum of colors.
The rainbow.
Exact. The colors are distinct, but the source is the same. It's like that with the deities. They're different facets of that same divine energy.
That's a great way to explain it. So who are some of these deities, these expressions of Brahman?
Well, you've got Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer, although destroyer can be a little misleading. It's more about transformation.
I see.
And we can't forget Shakti, the divine feminine energy, often manifesting as powerful goddesses.
Wow, there's so much to unpack there. So how do people actually practice Hinduism?
That's a great question. It's not all, incense and chanting in ancient temples, though those definitely play a role.
Yeah, I was picturing those incredible temples.
Oh, they're amazing feats of architecture and often serve as community centers. But worship, or what's called puja, can be very personal.
What do you mean by personal?
It could be as simple as offering flowers and food at a home altar, saying a prayer, meditating. It's about connecting with the divine in your own way.
There's that emphasis on personal connection again. It seems like a central theme in Hinduism.
Absolutely. And this is where we get into those different yogas. Now, when you hear yoga, you probably think of stretching and poses, right?
Yeah, that's what usually comes to mind.
But in Hinduism, it's a much broader concept.
Really? Tell me more about that.
Think of yogas as different paths leading to that same goal of moksha, that liberation we were talking about earlier.
So it's not just about touching your toes.
Not exactly. It's about finding the approach to spirituality that resonates with you, with your personality, your aspirations.
So it's kind of like choosing your own adventure, but for your spiritual journey.
Exactly. And there are 4 main paths, or yogas, to consider.
This is getting good. Lay it on me.
So first, you have Bhakti Yoga. This path is all about devotion, about cultivating a deep personal connection with a chosen deity.
That makes sense. So if you're someone who's driven by love and devotion, Bhakti Yoga might be the way to go.
Precisely. Then there's Karma Yoga, which is all about selfless action.
So it's not just about sitting around meditating all day.
Not at all. It's about taking action in the world, but doing it without getting hung up on the results. It's about fulfilling your duty for the greater good.
I can see how that would be appealing to a lot of people, especially those who are naturally action-oriented.
Absolutely. Now, if you're more intellectually inclined, drawn to knowledge and deep contemplation, then Jnana Yoga might be your calling.
Ah, the path of knowledge. Tell me more.
It's all about studying, meditating, really pondering those big philosophical questions.
So for those who love to learn and explore ideas, there's a path for them too.
Absolutely. And finally, we have Raja Yoga, which is all about mastering the mind.
Mastering the mind, that sounds intense.
It can be. It involves meditation and really disciplined practices to cultivate focus, clarity, and inner peace.
I could see how that would be incredibly valuable in today's world, with so many distractions.
Exactly. It's about finding that stillness amidst the chaos.
This is amazing. So you're telling me there's a yoga path for everyone.
Essentially, yes. And here's the best part. You don't have to choose just one.
So you can mix and match.
In a way, yes. People often blend these yogas, finding what resonates with them at different stages of their lives.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like Hinduism gives you this incredible toolkit for navigating life.
I like that, a toolkit. And like any good toolkit, it's got different tools for different situations.
This is also fascinating, but we have to address something. We can't talk about Hinduism without talking about the caste system, right?
You're absolutely right. It's a complex and sensitive topic, but it's essential to address.
So for those who might not be familiar, can you explain what the caste system is?
Sure. Traditionally, it's a social hierarchy, a system of dividing people into different groups based on their birth and their occupation.
And it's deeply intertwined with Hinduism, isn't it?
Yes, it has been. But it's really important to understand that while it was historically linked with Hindu scriptures and beliefs,
Yeah.
the interpretations that were used to justify it are widely debated today.
That makes sense. So it's not so clear-cut.
Not at all. It's complicated. It's been shaped by social, political, and religious forces for centuries.
And it's not like it's still legally sanctioned, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's outlawed in India, and there have been significant efforts to dismantle it.
But I imagine its legacy still lingers.
Sadly, yes. It's a deeply ingrained social structure, and it continues to impact people's lives, especially in certain parts of India.
It's like that saying, you can outlaw discrimination, but you can't outlaw prejudice overnight.
Exactly. It's a deeply rooted societal issue that takes time and effort to address. And to be clear, we're talking about a religion that, at its core, emphasizes the oneness of all beings, the divine spark in every individual.
Which makes the caste system all the more tragic.
It does. But it's a reminder that even within a tradition as rich and profound as Hinduism, there are complex social issues that need to be acknowledged and addressed.
And I think it highlights something really important about Hinduism. It's not a monolith.
Exactly.
It's dynamic, multifaceted, constantly changing.
Precisely. It's a living, breathing tradition that's still evolving even today.
And speaking of today, I'm curious to learn more about how Hinduism is experienced in the modern world, both in India and globally.
Oh, that's a great transition because it's a vibrant tapestry of ancient traditions blending with modern life.
It's like you see these incredible images from Holi, that festival of colors.
Oh, it's amazing.
Or Diwali with all the lights.
Yeah, those festivals are incredible. They're like bursts of energy,
Yeah.
and color, and they bring people together celebrating like good over evil, light over darkness.
It seems like such a beautiful expression of like the deeper themes of Hinduism.
Exactly. Blending that deep spirituality with this joyful, vibrant cultural expression.
I've always wanted to experience Holi. It just looks like pure joy.
It is, but it's not just about the festivals, you know?
All right.
Think about figures like Gandhi. His whole philosophy of nonviolence was deeply rooted in his Hindu beliefs.
It's easy to forget how much Hinduism has shaped these huge social and political movements.
Absolutely. It's everywhere, even if we don't always realize it.
It's true. Like, even people like Oprah Winfrey or Deepak Chopra.
Right, yeah.
They talk a lot about things like karma and dharma and interconnectedness.
Exactly. These ancient ideas are finding new life in our modern world.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you really
Yes.
think about it.
It is, and I think it's because at its core, Hinduism grapples with these really big questions.
Like what?
Like, who am I? What's my purpose? What happens after I die? You know, the big ones?
Yeah, those don't really go out of style, do they?
Nope. They're timeless. And Hinduism gives us this really rich framework for exploring them. And it's not just theoretical either.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Practical how? Because we've been talking about some pretty big abstract ideas.
Sure, but remember Dharma. That idea of finding your unique role.
Yeah.
That applies to everyday life too, not just cosmic stuff.
So, like, my dharma is to be the best podcast host I can be.
Maybe part of it, but it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
Think about showing up with integrity, compassion, purpose. It's about doing your best in every situation.
Okay, so it's less about escaping the world.
Right.
And more about, like, finding meaning within it.
Exactly. Hinduism teaches us that everything we do, every interaction, even the tough ones,
They're all part of it.
they're all opportunities for growth, for learning.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
like this ancient wisdom, but it's woven into everyday life.
It really is. And remember those 4 yogas we talked about? They're like tools within that framework.
Oh, yeah, the yogas, right?
So let's say you're stressed out at work. Deadlines, you know how it is.
Ugh, tell me about it. I think we can all relate to that.
So you could use the principles of Raja Yoga. Mindfulness, focusing on your breath, finding those moments of peace.
So it's like you're not just meditating to escape.
No,
You're using those techniques to deal with the stress.
exactly. Or maybe you're feeling uninspired, stuck.
Oh, been there.
That might be a good time to tap into Bhakti Yoga, connecting with something bigger than yourself.
Finding that sense of awe.
Yes. And when you feel like you need to take action, make a difference, that's Karma Yoga.
Right. It's about doing something, even if it's small.
It all adds up. And if you're feeling lost, unsure of your path,
Yeah. What then?
that's where Jnana Yoga comes in, encouraging you to seek out knowledge, explore different ideas.
It's about using your mind to make sense of things.
Exactly. It's like Hinduism gives you this incredible toolbox, different tools for different challenges.
But the more you learn about the tools, the more skillfully you can use them. Right.
Precisely. It's a lifelong journey of discovery and growth.
This has been amazing. I have to say, before this deep dive, Hinduism felt kind of vast and mysterious.
I get it.
But now it's like I'm starting to see how it all fits together.
That's great to hear. It's all about those connections.
It's like we're starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together,
Exactly.
even if we don't have the whole picture yet. It's pretty inspiring.
And that's what's so exciting about it. There's always more to discover, always another layer to explore.
It's amazing how this ancient tradition can feel so relevant to our lives today.
It really is. I think it speaks to how, like, no matter how much time passes, we're still asking the same big questions.
Really. Like, who are we? What's the point of all this? What happens next?
Exactly. Those questions don't really have an expiration date, do they?
Nope. And, at the beginning of this deep dive, I have to admit, Hinduism felt kind of overwhelming,
Oh, I get it. It's a lot to take in.
like a massive puzzle. And I wasn't even sure where the pieces fit.
Yeah, it can definitely seem that way at first.
But now, it's
What?
like I'm starting to see the bigger picture.
That's what we were hoping for, to give you a sense of how all those intricate pieces come together.
And it's beautiful, even if we've only just scratched the surface.
And that's the key, I think. It's not about finding all the answers, because with something like Hinduism, there aren't always easy answers.
It's more about being okay with that
Right.
and asking the interesting questions.
Exactly. It's about opening your mind to new possibilities, new ways of seeing yourself and the world around you.
I think what's really hitting me now is that Hinduism, it's not just a set of beliefs. It's more like an invitation.
Ooh, I like that. An invitation.
Yeah, it's like it's inviting you to explore, to ask the tough questions, to connect with something bigger than yourself.
And maybe through that exploration, you discover more about yourself along the way. Right?
Exactly. That's the cool part.
And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to learn about Hinduism, so many stories to uncover, so many insights to gain.
So, to our listener out there, if something we talked about today sparked your curiosity, don't let it end here. Pick up a book, watch a documentary, talk to someone from the Hindu community.
Yes. Every conversation, every question, it's like adding another thread to that tapestry we were talking about. You're building a richer understanding, not just of Hinduism, but of life itself.
This has been incredible. Thank you so much for being our guide on this fascinating journey.
It's been my pleasure. And remember, the journey never really ends, does it?
That's the beauty of it. Who knows what amazing things we'll discover next?